Population lives in big cities now. And this is an area in which Mexico City is a harbinger of the future. You're not going to become more like Nashville, Tennessee. Even though Nashville is from a developed economy, but you're not, that's not going to happen to you. You would be fools to think that the track of your future leads toward the everyday life of middle-class Americans. I mean, even middle-class Americans aren't going to live like people now live in Nashville, Tennessee. Daily life in America is going to be extremely turbulent over the next 10 or 15 years. And probably large parts of American cities are going to look more like Mexico than Mexico is likely to look like Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is simply the reality on the ground. We don't really have a good political vocabulary to describe it, but it's happening every day. And we kind of need to put aside some of our prejudices and get to grips with what's really happening, and areas in which we can constructively intervene.
What you're describing seems to be just basically the difference between very large cities and smaller townships. But both, in a city, if you're inclined towards technology and you work hard enough and you're clever enough, it seems to me that you can get into that level if you're young and do well at your schooling, that you can get into that level where you can have more access to the new technologies. And whether it's that way in smaller towns and developing countries, I just don't have the background to tell you. But I do think that the evolving state of the internet, of cell phones, of internet phones, is making a big difference, probably all over the world, and for those who have access to it, and satellite access. But I think the size of the city, I agree with this. It's very interesting that huge cities around the world could have more in common with each other than from the small town to the big city.
I think the factors of development play into the hands of cities, because nation states have a lot of problems with globalization. And just, the regime of the walled garden there, the necessity to sort of guard your borders, is very troublesome to nation states. And clearly, nation states have lost control over their economies. We're really suffering a lot of the effects of globalization. Right now, there doesn't seem to be any nation state in the world with a viable economic policy. In the global downturn that we're in, no matter what attempts they have made, there is no nation state which is really in control of its finances. Whereas, it's not necessarily just a case of the size of cities. It's more the globalized quality of the cities. If they stop pretending to be national cities, and are they behaving as if they were cities in a global framework? And it seems to me there are cities